Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Contractor's Corner podcast. I'm here today with Sumpter Solar Services, based out of Belleville, Michigan. I'm here with the CEO, Matt Cadwell. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Matt, can you start off by telling me a little bit about the size of your business and kind of the scope? I know that you do some repair work and obviously a lot of installations.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. The business is split pretty evenly between new installations and repair jobs. So we started the whole business back in 2017, only doing repair work for other companies. So we didn't do any installs at all for a couple of years. And the company right now, we have 8 employees, and we do about 100 new installs a year and then several hundred repair jobs. So
it's interesting. We get a lot of comments on our site saying people have been kind of left in the dark by an installer and they're looking for someone to help. And I think that it's awesome that you're offering repair work locally in Michigan for people.
Yes, yeah, we're glad to help. Especially recently, there was a company went bankrupt out of North Carolina, a large company, and that has given us a deluge amount of work from that. So, but we've been working through it as quick as we can here to help people out. So, don't want to leave people out to dry there. So,
absolutely. And has that been mostly just kind of bringing inverters back online, or what is the repair on that?
It is, yeah. It's been a variety of different things, anywhere from upgrading, communication equipment and inverters that were either have failed or just were never like commissioned all the way in the first place. And we did have a ton of stuff through. A lot of people have heard that Generac equipment had a lot of warranty claims, so like hundreds of them. So we're dealing with working our way through all the big backlog of stuff. So.
Okay. So what brought you to solar repairs back in 2017?
That's a good question. So at the time, I cut my teeth working for a couple other shops in the Metro Detroit area, and the second place I worked at ended up closing up shop. The owners retired and just closed their business up in a nearby town, and so I was kind of left a little bit adrift. And I had gotten a couple job offers, but nothing was real close by. And I did want to stay in the solar business, but we had a young family at the time, so I had to find a balance between those two. So it worked out really I kind of slipped my way into a little niche in the business doing repair work. Another company had contacted me about doing some repair jobs for them because there's not the money, there's not the kind of prestige that comes with repair jobs compared to new installs. So it didn't have kind of the flash that they were looking for. So they said, oh, we'll give them to this little guy, he can handle them. So, and I always kind of grew up in a family where we were brought up to like help others. So I thought it kind of fit with that niche, that kind of ideal or whatever. So and then I kind of just went from there. A couple other companies heard about it too, and then so I ended up getting more and more repair work. So I had to hire a couple people, and then it's grown since then. So.
And would you say that your repair work kind of helps you maybe get some more new jobs too? Like the neighbors heard that you repaired someone else's array and they were like, we need a new array.
Yes, I think so. It's really important in our business we have a very, very small marketing budget. We rely almost exclusively on referrals, and the more we can get out in front of the people, the more referrals we're going to get. So, crews do a good job. So we get, just builds on itself that way. So that way, because some other companies I've interacted with, they have, end up having to have huge marketing budgets. And and that can really weigh a business down. So we try to work around that by just doing a really good job and getting them to tell all their friends. So.
Okay, great. I saw on your website that you guys had a pretty large ground mount install recently. Are you bridging into the commercial space a little bit?
We are not. So we this project, it's been ongoing. It fell into our lap from an old customer. So it came into some money and wanted to do the right thing with it. So they hired us to build a 250 kilowatt system. So which for us is our next biggest, I think we've done, is 30 kilowatts. So this is a big scale jump for us. And we're definitely going to do it. We're happy to help them out with this project, but we do not want to get the company spread too thin. We're already doing a lot of repair work and a lot of new residential installs. To say now we're going to jump into C&I think would be, for us, I think might be a mistake. So.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm in Ohio. Definitely a little bit different of a policy landscape for solar, I would assume. But what is the Michigan residential solar situation like? Are people pretty aware, and are the incentives there?
That's a good question. It's kind of two parts. So one, as far as utilities go, there's two main utilities in Michigan: Consumers and DTE. And Consumers has been a little better about embracing solar, residential solar distributed power and stuff. And DTE is not. Generally, it has been a little bit. They got their own plan going, so it doesn't involve distributed power. So what we do, but they're the only game in town. Like, there's no other choice for us and our customers. So we just try to keep up with the policy changes as they go. Breaking news is that DT just had a big packet of stuff in front of the Michigan Public Service Commission to make a bunch of changes, and the Public Service Commission, in our favor, squashed all their stuff. They wanted to. We had full net metering or modified net metering before, and then we went down to just getting reimbursed only for the power production value of energy for excess power, which was like much lower, is about a third of the retail rate. And then they wanted to reduce it. They wanted to cut that down by a third of that, down to about 3 cents a kilowatt hour, which would have been really difficult. So, and then they also wanted to put a service charge on for all solar customers based on peak power demand, and no one knows what their peak power demand is. That's not given to customers on their utility bills. So there's no way to predict how much that fee would even be. And the Public Service Commission said no on all that. So that was a really big win for the state. That just happened just a couple days ago. So, and that being said, we, yeah, I guess that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just wild how much the state policy affects everyone from a 8-person team like yours to a huge commercial or national developer.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, what has been the most rewarding moment of your career so far?
We've had a couple repair projects, like this one where a customer had all their solar installed in the shade on their house, and we relocated it to a sunnier location on the roof, and then expanded the system and installed some monitoring. We did a whole big upgrade to the system. The system didn't have optimizers on it or panel level monitoring, and it was still partially shaded even after we moved it. So the production was horrible with the string inverter, and we were able to overcome that with some Tyco optimizers and it was really it was a really good feeling, because the system, they had bought it a few years before and it had made hardly any power. It was really, I saw the numbers, it was kind of shocking how little power the system had made. And so, yeah, and they've been happy since, and we've gotten a bunch of good referrals from her. He's a local architect in the Ann Arbor area, so he's given us a bunch of referrals since then. So it's really been a good, to me, it's the epitome of like, well, how we do business. We go out there and help people, and then they kind of pay it forward to us then.
That's great. You just wonder, how did that happen in the first place? I mean, common sense. Oh man. So how else does Sumpter Solar stand out from other local installers in your area?
I think kind of falling back on the repair stuff, we really try, like, we're just not a production based company, where other companies just pounding them in as quick as they can and moving on to the next job. So we're there because we handle service and stuff, we end up working with customers for longer if there's ever any service issues or warranty problems or anything like that. So, and it really, I think, helps. And we deal with jobs a lot of other companies would walk away from, which sometimes the crew doesn't always appreciate. But it's worked out really well. And our like, we dealt with a house that burnt, I had a fire damage, and we had a job. The house got hit by a tornado, and we helped with the insurance claims with that. And so I feel like that really kind of that level of customer service really helps us, kind of differentiate ourselves from other local installers. Not that the other installers are they're like, I don't want to say anything bad because like we work with a lot of the local installers. So, but and we all have our own place, I think, in the business, and we found our niche here. So
That's great. Tell me about the most unique project that you guys have done.
So we've had a couple. I think probably like we did one recently on a farm where we did 2 ground mounted systems, and we had everything was split into 2, but it ended up being really complex with the local utility. We're still actually trying to finish this job up, and we installed like in June, and to get it all the way commissioned, because the property as a house and a farm, we had to commission 2 separate systems with 2 different metering sets. Each one had multiple meters on it, so it ended up being really complicated. We had to tie meters together, and the local utility it was very difficult for them to wrap their heads around the whole project, and because of that, and it's created a lot of delays. But we're right at the tail end now, so we got them the final information, so it should close out shortly. But it definitely was more complicated than most, and we honestly more complicated than we originally anticipated with all the metering issues. So
how long has that process been?
Yes, we started the job was bid and booked in 2021, and then we finished physical install in like July, and then now we're into almost December, and it's still not all the way set up with the utility yet. So they're generating power, we just can't backfeed the grid. So
okay. Is that more of a rarity? Are you typically able to, get projects online and metered pretty quickly with the utilities?
Usually is, like the main thing, and I this has been gone over in a million contractors corners, just other industry things, is that we're always playing a game where there's a moving target. So the target with both the utility and the local municipalities are always the rules are always changing to the game. So, and it makes it difficult. We have to adapt. Like I just was working with our project manager a minute ago on a project that we had to shrink by half because the local AHJ decided that they wanted to have extensive fire setbacks, much more than other local jurisdictions. So, and we didn't find out until the project had been already sold, and we were well, knee deep in the project. So, and it does make it pretty difficult, I think, sometimes. So for us, when we don't know when the rules are always changing like that, and there's just so many jurisdictions in Michigan. It's got 83 counties, and then hundreds and hundreds of, cities and townships and stuff, and they all have their own rules. So it does make it kind of difficult. We do our best at the beginning of the job to find out what the rules are before we get into it too deep. But we can't. You got to. For a lot of customers, they have to write us a check before we're able to dig into it too much. And because of that, sometimes it can lead to some disappointment for customers. So when we have to shrink a system or different things like that.
Definitely. What else is preventing you from installing more projects?
Yes, utility. There's not a ton. Supply chain stuff. It's been its supply chain has become like a whack-a-mole thing, where sometimes it's like everything falls into place and it's all perfect. We hit every mole on the little whack-a-mole game, but then sometimes like it just like I had that today. I needed 5 more solar panels. We usually buy in bulky quantities of that, but I needed to complete to get us through the end of the year. We need 5 more. And I was able to find a supplier that could get us 5 individual panels. But that is definitely not always the case. They either want pallet or container quantities that we can't even do, and different things like that. So I spent a lot of my time just trying to track down parts to get projects installed. So that can be a real we combine that with permitting uncertainty, and things like that, and overall uncertainty as far as government policies and stuff like that. It does lead to quite a bit of challenge when it comes to that. But I've been doing this for 12 years, so I'm kind of you kind of either got to get used to it or go do something else. So it's kind of this is the way the game is played. So these are the rules. So it's nice when I remember that, and I always encourage, like, I work real closely with our project manager, that we know that's how today, each day is going to be. And then when we know that, it's not that big of a deal. It's just part of the job. So that's why they pay us. So
Right. Do you see the new manufacturing incentives as potentially hopeful for solving some of these supply chain issues, obviously down the road with American-made panels?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And I think you hit the nail on the head, though. Down the road, it just takes a long time to set up a plant, and get, a production line going and stuff. So what I do think is encouraging is for us, because being in the Detroit area, kind of the Motor City, is that there's a lot of battery stuff going on in our area. And they're even actually a company going to open a huge $1.5 billion plant right down the road from our shop here. They've actually already reached out to us about helping with like some quality stuff in testing, kind of field testing their equipment and stuff like that. So, which is really exciting. And they also I think LG just opened a new plant out in Holland, or they're about to. And so there's a lot going on in the area locally here as far as battery stuff. I think because of all the cars, here being built. So a lot of the car companies are putting money into it. So, but the great thing is that overflows into the solar business, because batteries are the hot ticket now. So, as far as like panels and other stuff, I feel like once in the next year or 18 months, once the supply chain stuff finally evens out and COVID kind of gets put to bed here and stuff like that, I think that even with the new government policies, there's been government policies in the past, and it hasn't really like spurred that much growth. Like Obama had loans you could get and different things like that, and it just didn't there was too much overseas pressure, like price pressure, I think, to like make it economically viable to build here on a big scale. That being said, Q-Cells opened a huge plant in Georgia, so there are some stuff something, and First Solar has always been here. So there's definitely some demand for that, but we just have to kind of wait and see. I'm just not sure how it's all going to work out here.
Yeah, it's like you've probably gotten your hopes up before, and you're like, all right, I'm going to temper it, see what happens.
That's exactly true. We've had several plants get built even in Michigan, and then they're all closed. So
yeah. Back to the batteries really quick. How much battery installation are you doing with your solar projects? Is there a pretty decent attachment rate at this point?
There is, yeah. We're at about 50% of our new installs get batteries. So a lot of times we're doing LG battery banks paired with SolarEdge equipment, because SolarEdge is kind of our lead as far as inverters go. And we do some, we're a Generac installer as well. And we also do Enphase batteries. So we like Enphase because you can fit them to really small systems or existing Enphase systems seamlessly. So otherwise, we usually go with SolarEdge and LG right now. So, but we are looking at a couple other like BYD and stuff. So there's some pretty good products coming onto the market that we're keeping our eye on. So, we always, like in solar, you got to always be looking way down the road. You can't. So we're always looking for something better and newer and that kind of thing. So.
Okay. And then my last question is just kind of seeing how your company might be affected by the new incentives for residential solar in the IRA. What does this 10-year runway of 30% do for you, and how do you convey that to your customers?
Oh yeah. Oh, that is such a godsend. We finally, because for years they had the 30% tax credit, and then it was going to go away, and then at the last minute they passed it, and it got stuck onto another bill, and they've done this a couple of times, and this is not a good way to put certainty into the market. So knowing that we're good for 10 years at a good healthy 30% really takes the pressure off. And what we always tell customers, like, we're at actually right now time-wise, we're at a weird spot going into December where we used to have, December was basically a big emergency the entire month, trying to get systems in as fast as we could install them so that you get the tax credit. And because like it was going to go away, or, or it was going to step down or whatever else. And so finally we just don't, we still have some urgency because people want to get the tax credit that year, but it really takes the pressure off. So, and we're all about like, and a lot of installers too, but like we're really about making purchase of solar as low pressure of a situation as possible, because it's a big investment for a lot of people. And so we want to kind of take away as much of the hard stuff as we can. So they're still going to have to write us a huge check. So that certainty just makes all the difference in this business. So at least we got one thing we can count on now. So
that's great. I didn't even think of that mad dash that was usually there for you guys, and now it's like maybe you can spread business out a little more evenly throughout the year,
that's
so people
right.
can enjoy their Thanksgiving dinner.
Right, that's right. Yeah, as for our crews, it was nuts, in December, and the weather's starting to really turn here in Michigan, and the last thing we want to be doing is rushing jobs and stuff, and it just makes it a lot easier. So
definitely, that's great. All right, any last thoughts on the Michigan solar market or residential in general?
Up to say, like, one thing is that comes to mind real quick is that with that national installer going out of business, it really has created a big wave in the solar business in Michigan here. So because that just reduced a lot of sales. People are gone. So in some ways it's been good and bad, and some of it's been good. We've had, like, now there's this big influx of workers ready to work that are trained and stuff. So a lot of companies have been snapping up workers from them, and then other companies like us and stuff have been getting cleanup work for their jobs. But it's still, in the end, it's going to leave a big hole like that. Little startups are already popping up, where disaffected workers that left that company are now starting their own little shops. We've been contacted by a couple of them because we partner with other firms doing installs for them. So we've already had 2 companies reach out to us about perhaps using us to do installs, and yeah, so it's definitely going to be an interesting time in 2023 to see how that all works out. So
yeah, all right, well, wishing you the best of luck and happy holidays.
thanks a lot, Kelsey. I appreciate it.